usual famous Ozarker. And see if anybody can guess this one. So any guesses? In terms of Ozark's history, it was a long time ago. In terms of natural history, not so long ago.
1800s.
1800s, yeah. Pictures from the 1800s.
He was an author.
No, not an author.
A musician.
Not a musician.
Politician.
Politician. He was a politician.
We're narrowing it down.
Is that Marmaduke?
That's not. It's not Marmaduke. It's not. He actually wasn't a politician in Missouri, though he's probably more famous today for his progeny. He had a very famous son. This guy was famous and extremely wealthy in his own right, but his son became even more famous and even wealthier. This is George Hearst,
William Randolph.
father of William Randolph Hearst. Some of you have heard of William Randolph Hearst, the great media mogul of the early 20th century. George Hearst was born and raised on a farm in the Sullivan, Missouri area. Now, Sullivan, we know, is in the extreme northeastern part of the Ozarks. It's in that kind of border area where, depending on who you talk to, they may or may not claim to be in the Ozarks. But Sullivan is up there just off of I-44. If you drive to St. Louis, you'll see a Sullivan exit, at least one Sullivan exit. But when he was about 29 years old, in 1850, Hearst, like thousands of people from Missouri and like thousands of people from the Ozarks, made his way to California. Gold had been discovered. And by the time the Civil War started, a little over a decade later, he had become very wealthy. He and a couple of partners had discovered a big silver mine, and he had made money in other ventures as well. And after the Civil War, he became even wealthier. Eventually, he became one of the best-known prospectors on the West Coast, one of the most trusted prospectors, someone who just seemed to have a knack for finding gold or silver or whatever it was that he was looking for out there, and made what today would translate into millions and millions of dollars. He ended up owning a newspaper in San Francisco, which is where he had a house, and his son, William Randolph Hearst, took over the newspaper when he was in his 20s and eventually built this into just a huge media conglomerate. At the height of William Randolph Hearst's power, he owned about 30 large daily newspapers in the biggest cities around the country, and magazines and all kinds of other stuff, and was just one of the wealthiest people in the world in the early 20th century. And it all started with George Hearst from Missouri.
Don't they refer to that as the first castle?
He's...
Wasn't he involved with the film stars too and stuff?
Yeah, William Randolph Hearst, not George Hearst, but yeah, William Randolph Hearst built. I don't think he ever finished Hearst Castle, and he.
And it's open, isn't it, for people to?
I guess it is. I'm not sure. I've never been to it, but yeah, you're right. That's on the somewhere on the California coast, I believe, like between San Francisco and L.A., somewhere down there. Have you ever been by the Hearst Castle?
I can't remember exactly where, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So, but that's a little George Hearst. He also, at the time of his death in 1891, he was a U.S. Senator from California. So had used his wealth and influence to find his way into high office. So that's George Hearst.